Hello guys. I know I was supposed to do this a while ago, but I decided to overlook it and yeah, I ended up being late. And this is the Pokemon region I promised, and I'm only going to cover all of my starters, every evolution instead of making like multiple parts and videos of it. And I will be doing the same for like Route 1 Pokemon and all that. So without further ado, let's get into Pokemon Subsequent and Pokemon Antiquity of the Moani region. Starters are first Batra, which comes from Patra, because this region is heavily inspired by Egypt, ancient Egypt, and even some of their conspiracy theories, which will be featured in one of our starters. Evolution lines, I'm pretty sure. I did draw the art. The art might not be that good, so please bear with me. Batra is the nurture foil Pokemon. This Pokemon loves to nurture dead plants back to life. It's a pure grass type. And the reason why I drew it like this is because these are supposed to represent mummy bindings, similar to the religion mummification and how their religion in ancient Egypt, and I don't know if it's still a thing now, but they would mummify their rulers. I think they were known as the Pharaoh, and they would do this to then move on to the next life. It's also based off of the dragon fruit and is a semi-bat like being. I decided to make its eyes here look like kind of like kiwis, cut kiwis, or something similar. But let's move on to our fire type starter, which is actually based off of the Sphinx cat, but you won't see much of that. Meet Santior, the fallen Pokemon. It's a fire and fairy type. This Pokemon is from the moon, and it is a relative of Cleffa. And I like how I did this little shiny sphere thing we've got going on here. But basically, the reason why I did Cleffa is who knows why. But it's pink, and I know how fire types have to be based off of zodiacs, so this would be like a cat or some kind of lion, which I'm pretty sure is a part of the zodiac. And yeah, it's the kind of like drawing we have here, like the way its mouth is shaped and the color it is, like this stuff is kind of meaning it's actually some kind of burning plasma. That's what it is. And it's represented through the mouth. And yeah, I hope you really like this one. As I said, the art might not be that good. My art style hopefully will get better. Let's go on to a more goofier Pokemon, Paraquid, the Pyramid Pokemon, a pure water type. This Pokemon cannot see, so it sticks its tentacles underground to feel. This is heavily inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender. Toph, I really found her like extremely interesting, but I promise you I will not be like having any other inspirations crazy like that. Yeah, this Pokemon is more on the goofy side. These little shapes are representing some kind of alien symbols. If you don't know, basically, there's a rumor that, or it's more like a myth kind of rumor that the aliens built the pyramids, and that will come in soon. Now let's start with what makes my region special. Is something called Subterrite. A starter Subterrite. So Subterrite is what makes my region special, like how some regions have stuff like Mega Evolution, Z moves, and all that really cool stuff that makes them special and all that. Mine has something called Subterrite. Subterrite is the energy Pokemon have to turn into their substitutes from another dimension called arrow. I don't know how to spell this. I don't even know how to pronounce it, even though I spelled it. I'm gonna call it Arrow Aroni. I think that's how I pronounced it first. It's a polar verse between the bindings of existence. And basically, they will not be the same forms, but now you can watch them all turn black. Whoa. So, I know Pokemon is for kids, but it's okay. It's just one word. It's just one word. It's just wine. Chill. Alright, meet Magin, the magic wine Pokemon. It's Paraqued's Subterrite. This Pokemon is a psychic type. And yes, by using the scent of wine, it can easily make its opponents very dizzy. If you see the eye over here, right here, the little eye, it's actually a star because this is also based off of some kind of wizard-like Pokemon, and this is like the capsule that normally a plug for a wine bottle. And right now the wine is leaking through it, as you can see. Meaning this is Magin's head and actually the container for the bottle. Yeah. And next would be Mist Kiss. I know I could have been a little bit more creative here, but come on, I just had to do it. Fairy type is my favorite typing ever. So it is a bug fairy type, and Mist Kiss is the Kiss Bat Pokemon. It's basically going to replace your grass type moves with Draining Kiss, and it is the Subterrite of Batra. And without further ado, let's move on to Sopop, the Soda Rocket Pokemon, and a water type. Surprisingly, this is the Subterrite for... Oh my gosh, did I forget my own Pokemon's name? You know, my fire type. You can go back and check that out. If I remember it and I know how to edit right, then I'll edit this in. But Sopop can basically rocket up and probably will have the ability self-destruct. Oh my god. Look at his little face. Crazy. And one more thing, Subterrite comes from all kinds of other dimensions. So no, the evolved form of Batra will not have the Subterrite of the evolved form of Mist Kiss, if you kind of understand what I mean. Let's move on to the second starters, and the evolution of Batra is Patchapple, the rotten apple Pokemon. This is meant to represent the rotting and the draining of the, how do I say this in a child-free way? The insides of the bodies of the pharaoh. So it's kind of like, yeah, the cloth is decayed, and it does have two forms for male and female. Although it does have a higher chance of being a female, surprising. And it is a grass flying type now. The male form looks more rotted. Yeah. And this is also based off of the fact that they were heavily into stuff like, how can I say this? Siblings getting together, incest. And so they would come out disfigured and disformed as they kind of like had kids, and their kids would probably die early. And let's get into its description. Sorry if I'm yapping. Patchapple is the rotten apple Pokemon. And Patchapple, this Pokemon, is actually lighter than a feather. Surprisingly. I don't know why I added that. Because it's rotten, it actually spreads a bad scent. Yeah. I gave it a new ability called Disgusting Scent, which lowers its opponent's attack stats drastically. because they're probably trying to swat the scent away from their face. This only happens for one turn. Now let's move on to the Fire Evo. Sphinx Meow, or Sphere Meow, the Mooncat Pokemon. And I sadly turned its little orb into something disgusting. Alright. The flame on its head, feel like if you look at this Pokemon upside down, flame on its head looks like root beer spilling. But anyways, yeah, Sphere Meow is the Mooncat Pokemon, and it's still Fire Fairy type, nothing changed. Now it stands on 2 legs. I missed when you were on 4s. Literally. It's actually taller than most trainers, standing at 6 feet tall. With its evolution standing at 2'7" in height. By the way, Batra stands at about 2 feet tall, while Patrapple is 4'6". And Sphere Meow, this Pokemon is able to summon the power of the moon, mostly through its tail and its little root bear looking flame on its head. And the plasma has grown to be some kind of beard, and the plasma has now covered its eyes. Because this Pokemon actually has an ability called Super Jump. Super Jump allows it to harvest the gravity of the moon and dodge all ground type attacks, which actually gives a really big advantage. It dodges rock and ground type attacks, but takes extra damage to flying types. So yeah, I find this really interesting and a big advantage for a fire type Pokemon. But yeah, that's what I did. Let's get on to one of the most abstract things I've seen, more based off of a UFO, the evolution of Paraquid, Flowtect, the architect ship Pokemon. And again, this is heavily based off of the fact that people believe or believed that pyramids were based off of UFOs. And it is a now poison type, since it's still a squid and an octopus. Flowtect is a very classy, nor rare Pokemon to see in the wild, and most definitely a tanky starter type Pokemon, like really tanky. This Pokemon has the power to produce water stones, but only once. This comes from its rare ability called Safe Haven Gold Mine. And basically, it allows this Pokemon to produce 1 water stone from right here. But this is only when it reaches level 35 at night, and not all of them will have it. The water stone is a very key value to have. Probably get it before you reach the 3rd or 2nd gym, if you're lucky. Alright, let's move on to their Subterrite. I feel like the Subterrites are very interesting. Start a Subterrite too. Let's go. Alright. Let's turn them all black. Whoa. Alright, this is Wild West, the cowboy Pokemon, and it's a ground type. Yeah, that's right. Our Flowtech turns into a cowboy. I like how it did its eyes, and I enjoy. Sorry, that was my sister coming into the room. And I enjoy how I made its arm a liquid, because this is actually how it shoots a liquid. It shoots liquids. Here. It shoots liquids out of its hands. Like a gun, like a cowboy. It's very interesting. And next would be our grass type that turns into my new type, being the light type. When Patrapple goes into its Subterrite, it turns into Chima. the daycare Pokemon. And the reason it's the daycare Pokemon is because it has the ability Helping Hand. Where are your hands? Who knows? It has the ability Helping Hand. And I like the little patterns and the colors I did. This little pattern here, pay attention to it because this represents more than the rainbow, guys. It actually represents something that will be shown later in one of the future evolutions. Now, finally, for the fire type's evolution, meet the electric type. Hi, Jackie, the virus Pokemon. This Pokemon is able to bring its little virus into real life, controlling anything with electricity, with this buff-looking hand absorbing it like it's nothing, and this hand putting the virus into it. Similar to one of the Ultra Beasts, I think its name had a Z in it or something. Similar to the Ultra Beast and one of the rivals of another Ultra Beast, it eats and consumes electricity. And now it's time for Starters 3. My mistake. Now it's time for Starters 3. Meet the evolution of Patchapple, Clefairy, the mummy Pokemon. I told you folks that its lower half has way more to do. This is based off of the ancient kind of map looking body part of this Pokemon. The reason I created this was to symbolize the other ancient places back in the ancient civilization. And basically, its eyes are very interesting. I like how I did the design. Clefairy is the mummy Pokemon. I said money. The mummy Pokemon. This Pokemon can control its wraps. Yes, that's right. These are actually wraps. Yeah, it's still wrapped, but it's only wrapped up to here. Its wings are completely free. And these things are its wings. All of this. That's its mouth. Could you imagine going outside and seeing this thing flying in the night? Yes,